Sheffield City Expats Club is a non-profit social organisation and our speakers are volunteers. The club as such assumes no responsibility or liability for the professional reputation of or the quality of services provided by the speaker today.
MA, Managing Director of McCallan Insurance Broker Company Limited. He has labelled his topic, and I'm not sure whether it was him or Ren, but This Idiot's Guide to Insurance in Thailand. A light-hearted look in one sense of insurance over the last 28 years in Thailand as an insurance agent and broker, with a sprinkling of true stories, happy and not so happy endings, and lots of personal experience thrown in for good measure. And I'm sure as one or two of you did come up and say hello to Jack, there's quite a few people in the audience who knows Jack. And he's a dedicated supporter of Care for Kids, the Royal British Legion Thailand charities, married with 2 children. So, without further ado, please put your hands together for Jack Levy. Up here, Jack.
Thank you very much for that, and thank you for having me here. What I'm going to have to do is open a book, oops, and also drop my literature. Excuse me. And I will explain why I'm opening a book in a minute. But first of all, I'm going to say a little bit about myself. But I have to read that also, but I'll explain why. I've been here for 28 years selling insurance, and I've been in the insurance industry for 38 years. On your way out, if you wish, you can pick up a little brochure about McCallan Insurance. It tells you where we are and the services that we try to provide. McCallan, it's not my name, it just happens to be the name of my favourite whiskey. So, if anyone ever wants to buy me a thank you present, McCallan suits. Okay, I got to Thailand because maybe a few of you had the same route, a really bad divorce. If you're going through a divorce in Thailand, you're lost. It's all in favour of the women, but that's another story, and it can surely wait. I commuted to Thailand a number of times, married a girl, took her back to Scotland, and I was quite happy there, doing good, until the Financial Services Act came in 1990. That was going to destroy brokers out there, so I came here. It was a good time to start up. I was given an office, and the rest, as they say, is history. 28 years on and I'm still happy. Right, I was going to actually explain why I need a book to talk to you when I've done this thing a number of times before. It's only a very short story, but on February the 3rd, 2015, sorry, Freudian slip. 2015, they discovered a brain tumour in my brain. It was 9 centimetres by 5, and to cut a long story short, I was given 2 months to live. So I went in for a fairly serious operation that the doctor, that was Dr. Nantasak, who President Obama called to keynote speakers in a neurological conference, one of the top men in the world. He said, you've got a 4% chance of coming through this no worse than what you go in. So we got through it. I had insurance. The insurance paid 1.7 million baht for that particular operation, which took 10.5 hours, by the way. I had to pay 285 baht, or about $8. Not too much. I think I can honestly say the insurance worked quite well for me. But the reason why I'm reading from this book is they removed part of my brain. Some may say that's quite a good thing. That means that occasionally my short-term memory lets me down, I forget things, so I have to refer to my notes. So if I actually stop and start looking, I do hope that you'll understand it's not because I'm daft or stupid, it's just because well, maybe I am daft and stupid, but it just happens. I forget things, and for that I apologise. I've agonised over what I'm going to say to you people here today, because many of you have been here for many years, many of you have been insured for many years, and I think that you're all going to know roughly what I'm going to talk about. So how can I make this interesting? Damned if I know. But I'll do my best anyway. Let's talk for a bit about car insurance. Most of us will have vehicles. Driving in Thailand for a lot of us will be different because here we insure the vehicle and not the person. I'm sure you're all aware of that. What that means is that if you insure your car, anybody can drive it as long as they have a valid driving license, but it doesn't give you permission to drive anybody else's car, unless of course they have insurance too. That's all I want to say about that. What I want to talk about is the actual policy that we sell you, or hopefully we sell you. Keep it in your car. Now that may sound obvious. I mean, if you're going out shopping, you take your Visa card or your MasterCard or your wallet, but people go out driving without their car insurance, and then sod's law, they're going to have a crash, an accident, they're going to get stopped, and they phone me at 2 AM and say, Jack, I've had an accident, what do I do? I say, you have to telephone the number that's on your policy. Who's your insurer? You are. I'm not, I'm your broker. Where's your policy? At home. What the hell is it doing at home? Anyway, this happens on a regular basis, so for all of you who have insurance, please make sure that you carry your policy in your car, especially if you're going to have any sort of accident, and you never know when that's going to happen. Is there anything else you need to know about brokers? Probably not. Let's talk then about road tax and the porobor. The porobor is what you must have to get your road tax. If you don't display your road tax, the police are going to get angry with you and fine you. So you have to have it. But what use is it? It covers you up to 50,000 baht if you hit and kill somebody. But if you run into the side of another car, there is no cover whatsoever with the government insurance. There is no bail bond with the government insurance. There's no service with the government insurance. So, for most people, we advise take a voluntary insurance, class 1, class 2 or class 3. That equates to fully comp, third-party fire and theft, or liability only. Right, but what has interested me over the last years is the amount of road accidents that we have in Thailand. And I wonder why they occur. I love Thailand. In fact, I love Thailand so much I've married 5 Thai girls in my time. And 1 Scottish. But don't forget the Scottish one. She caused me far too much trouble. The others just accepted a house. Is it? Well, I'm going to say there's a lot of road accidents in Thailand. And I tried to work out why. I thought, is it genetic? Perhaps, but probably not. And I've eventually worked out through my 5th wife, God bless her. She's in, actually, you know, please take her. No, somebody's taken her already, it's okay. So, I worked out through my 5th wife what the problem was. The problem with Thai drivers, and it's not all of them, there's some excellent Thai drivers, but there's a lot that aren't, is that they're taught badly. And I'm going to give you an example of why they're taught badly. My 5th wife, Anyway, she got pregnant. It was actually my fault, but we won't go into that either. And she said, Jack, I'm driving a motorbike, but when the baby's born, I should drive a car. I said, okay, have driving lessons, pass your test. So I bought her 16 driving lessons. And after 15, I said, how are you doing? She said, I'm doing good. Can you drive? Yeah. Now at the time I had a Daihatsu Mirror manual. Some people may remember them. A little white one. And I drove her out to Sam Country Club Road, which was then very, very quiet. We swapped seats, she got in. She sorted out where she was sat, her mirrors, her wing mirrors, made herself comfortable, started the car, found the biting point, and stalled. 3 times. And she turned to me and said, Jack, what am I doing wrong? I said, you have to take the handbrake off. The handbrake? The instructor said that was an emergency brake. Now, that is absolutely true. These are the people that are teaching the people to drive, and these people are now teaching the younger people to drive, and that's an emergency brake. Absolutely true. And then, but she could drive. I have to admit, she could drive. And she went up country because she couldn't get it here. This was at the time when you had to go back to your province. And she walked into the driving centre in Udon Thani. Can I mention names? No. Forget that. She walked into the driving centre of the province she came from. And the guy looks up and he says, what do you want? She said, I want a motorbike driving licence and I want a car driving licence. And he said to her, 500 baht each. That was the test. I kid you not, that was the test. So, I wonder, is this why we have so many bad drivers in Thailand? And I've come to the conclusion it's only part of the reason. The other part of the reason is that, and I'm going to ask you a question in a minute, the other part of the reason is that the traffic laws are not followed, they're not enforced by anybody when they should be. I think I'm treading on fairly unsubstantial ground here. Anyway, carry on. The law should be, if the laws were enforced more strictly, people would drive more carefully. I'm talking about motorcyclists going up the wrong side of the road. I'm talking about double parking, speeding, overtaking on the inside, especially when you want to turn left. And my personal favourite, running a red light. We've all seen it. I was actually in a car that ran a red light from a very nice Thai guy who's in charge of an insurance company here, his branch manager. And I turned around to him and said, you've just gone through a red light. He said, I know. Aren't you scared of dying? Aren't you scared of crashing? He said, if Buddha wanted me to die, I would have died. He doesn't want me to die today. And that was his way of thinking. I'm thinking, if this is the general mentality, then we're all in trouble. We need to improve the general standard of people driving, well not we, but the authorities, so that we can get down the cost of insurance, because as all these accidents happen, the cost of insurance, of your insurance, keeps going up. Which brings me on to another favourite topic, drink driving. None of us here do it. Let me tell you that 20 years ago, everybody did it. There was no law. There was a law, but they couldn't enforce it. The official limit is apparently 0.05 milligram, I think. What that means is 1 small beer or 1 small shot of whiskey for an average person, whoever an average person is. But we all know our limits, and we all know what we should and shouldn't take. I would have lots of lights to go out.
This is multi-pam.
Somebody's trying to tell me something.
No, just speak up. I think we can hear you.
Really?
Yeah.
You actually want to hear me, okay. Let me try. Okay.
Coming up now.
Back.
It's back?
Yeah.
Coming back?
No. Hi.
Yeah.
We're back.
Yes. Yeah, we're back.
If you're caught drink driving nowadays, you get a free night in a Thai jail. Apparently not to be recommended, something I've never really tried.
It's coming.
But the people who have say, try to avoid it if you can. On top of that, there is an up to 20,000 baht fine, and if there is a drink driving test done on you and it's incontroversial, you've just got to accept it. If it happens 2 times, you can be forced to leave the country. So they're fairly strict on this drink driving law. Also, if you have an accident in your car or vehicle or motorbike or whatever, while you have been drink driving and you're tested, then the insurance would be within their rights to say, sorry, no insurance, because you are breaking the law. Is everybody fairly clear on that? Okie dokie. So, well, if you're drinking, don't drive. In fact, don't even put. Driving in Thailand. Officially and legally, you can only drive on a Thai driving license or an international driving license. This is what's written down. What in fact happens is that as long as you're on a valid driving license with most insurance companies, they will accept it. So they'll accept European, they'll accept British, they'll accept Australian, they'll accept American, etc., etc., etc. But if the police stop you, you're still liable for a 200 baht fine for not having the Thai or international. Now, I say most companies will accept it. There are a number of companies who actually insist on Thai or international. So if you are driving on a British license or an American or what is not a Thai or international license, go back and check your policy, because if you have an accident you won't be covered, because they'll say, sorry, it's the wrong license. If you're involved in an accident, and unfortunately accidents happen, this is what you do. Absolutely nothing, apart from ring the number that's on the insurance policy that's hopefully in your car. You admit nothing, you say nothing, till your insurance representative arrives, and hopefully that will be quickly, or until the police ask you to move the car. My advice then is that by then you should have taken lots of photographs, tried to photograph the ID cards of witnesses, but if not, just photograph their faces, and make statements only to the relevant people, that is your insurance person, and then only make a statement to the policeman when your insurance person is with you. That is because the policeman's going to write it down in Thai, and if you're like me, you're not going to understand a word of what he's writing, and then he's going to say, sign here, oh heck, he's got a gun. And people with guns you tend to follow. One of the best things, well, I made a talk about 15 years ago to the other expat club. Can I mention them? No? Okay. And what I've come up then with these little cameras that you bought, and they've got 10 or 12 photos in it. It says, carry one of these in your dashboard so that you can take photographs, take lots of photos. Now we've all got these little cameras on the telephone which are magic, but the best thing is the dash cam. Get dash cams, it has 2 main advantages. One is it brings down your insurance premium, which is always nice. The second thing is it saves the insurance companies a lot of money, because it shows exactly what happened in the accident. And seeing as we're all careful drivers, it's obviously the other person's fault. Turn the page. Unfortunately, if it's a major accident or even a fairly serious accident, you'll get policemen there, and you have to listen to what the policeman says. I'm very for policemen at all times because they are always totally impartial. They will quite often recommend 50-50 because if you're involved with a person that is indigenous to this country, you may often find that they don't have insurance, and the policeman, God bless him, feels sorry for him. If it turns out that it's recommended 50-50, it will not go against your record. Not for any of my customers anyway, and it will not affect your no-claim bonus, because we've stopped it. It also stops a lot of hassle like going to the police station. These people have lots of power, so if they say, we think you should go 50-50, don't hit the policeman, that's definitely a mistake. What to do is just nod, say yes sir, thank you sir, bite the bullet, and go with it. That is best advice from someone who's been here 28 years and gone up against authority more times than he cares to remember. The insurance will then repair your car, and then you can drive away without a stain on your character. This is always the essence of a good insurance policy. It keeps you out of trouble. One nice little aside is that there used to be a policy in Thailand whereby if your car was involved in an accident and the insurance put it into a garage, they would give you a replacement car. That no longer applies. People took huge advantage of it. If they had a scratch on their car and they were going up to Isan, they'd put the car in the garage for 5 days, get a replacement car, belt up there, absolutely knacker the car coming back. It would come back a beat up wreck, and then they'd get their nice new pristine car out. This policy lasted about 4 months, and then they got rid of it. Claims. If you're in an accident and you have a claim, or even if you have a claim when no one else is involved, and you're filling in your own claim form, just keep it simple. Be concise, but not over-elaborate. It makes very little difference to your claim, but it does sometimes raise questions about your sanity. So, if you're going to write about being hit by an invisible car that came out of nowhere, hit me and disappeared, it doesn't really help very much. Nor does the case in Australia, which is actually a very recent one and has made lots of publications, and I'm quoting here, so I will read very carefully. As I drove round a blind corner, I suddenly saw in front of me 2 kangaroos copulating on the road. I immediately ejaculated through the sunroof before I came to a sudden halt when my car hit a badly parked tree. Now, why this guy couldn't have just said, I lost control of my vehicle and hit a tree, they would have paid quite happily. As he was out in the middle of nowhere, nobody could breathalyze him, but I'm not sure what he was taken, but I wouldn't mind trying some. However, that's for another day as well, I suppose. He got paid out because he had fully comprehensive insurance. There was no need to elaborate. Just say, I lost control and I hit a tree, that's fine. This thing raised more questions than answers, but he still got paid. So, keep it simple. K-I-S-S. Keep it simple. It's the best way to get insurance paid in this country. We've been through dash cams, I love dash cams. So, one last case to remember. I'm not going to mention any names, I'll just call him Jeff. And he rang me probably about 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, I said, Jack, I've just crashed my car. I said, where are you? He says, I'm not far from where you live. He says, I'm on Second Road, just opposite Soy Diamond. Okay, I'll phone the insurance, I'll come out. I went down and I said, Jeff, what happened? Because he's normally a careful driver. And he said, well, I was driving along and I saw this girl and I'm watching her and I'm watching her and bang! It hit the car in front of him. Not a great drama, but you never know when insurance is going to be needed. We got the people out. He got sorted. This was a time when you could drink and drive, so he took me for a few beers. It was lovely. If you can't get Macallan whiskey, a few beers does always help. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about how we're doing for time. 25 minutes.
Oh my.
Here we go
Thank
again.
you.
Can we take Jack? We've got insurance.
Can we talk a little bit?
Are
We gone again? Yeah. About health insurance. This is what you need if you go to hospital. If you're unlucky enough to need to go to hospital, you're going to be asked a few questions, nothing to do with your health, when you arrive. The first one is, how are you going to pay? Have you got a credit card? Have you got insurance? Can I see your card? The reason why they want to see the card is they tell you it's because they want to check the expiry date and they want to phone the insurance company. In reality, what they want to do is find out exactly how much they can charge you. It is. I've been doing this for a long, long time. Always carry your card just in case. It's a bit like carrying your driving license. Don't forget it. When you're asked to leave hospital, when you're better, the alternative doesn't bear thinking about. So when you actually leave hospital, you generally have to wait while the insurance company approve. Has anyone ever experienced this waiting period? Let me tell you what actually happens. The doctor comes up to you and says, you can go home now. Wow, great, it's only 8 o'clock in the morning. What they don't tell you is that he goes and sees all his other patients. Then he goes and writes his notes. Then he sends his notes to the pharmacy so they can add to the bill. And then it goes to accounting, who check that nothing's been missed. And then it goes to the insurance company. That can take 3 to 5 hours, depending on how busy everyone is in the hospital. All the time, you're in your room, tapping your fingernails or whatever you do, you know, doing your hair. Well, I don't have hair. And you're saying, what's happening, what's happening? Oh, we're waiting for the insurance company, we're waiting for the insurance company. It's not strictly true, because on the back of your card, there is a 24-hour customer care number. Now, when you phone me and say, Jack, what the hell are the insurance company doing? They're doing nothing, because they haven't had the final bill yet from the hospital. Until they get the final bill, it makes sense they can't pay. But the nice little nurse is saying, oh, we're waiting on the insurance company to give the approval. They are. But the insurance company can't give the approval till the hospital do their job. So please, look at the card that you've got. You've got a 24-hour care number on, and when you phone them, I almost guarantee, certainly 95% of the time, they will say, we're waiting on final account from the hospital. So don't blame the poor broker, and don't blame the poor insurance company. It's not always their fault. So sometimes they say something like, the insurance company says, will you pay first and claim it back yourself? There's a good reason for this. Hospitals are cash-strapped, largely. Not all of them, but some of them. And they want the money up front. They don't want to have to wait 4 weeks or 6 weeks, which is the agreement that they have. with each insurance company as to how long they have for the insurance companies to pay the bills to them. If they can get the money up front off you, they will do it. So when next time you're in hospital, and I hope you're never in hospital, and I hope that you've all got health insurance and you're all wasting your money because you don't need it. But next time you're in hospital and they say the insurance company asks you to pay first, please don't believe it. Just dial your broker, dial your insurance company, or dial direct to your insurance provider and find out what the score is, because normally it's not correct. There's lots of different types of insurance. When you go into an insurance office, they will try to sell you their insurance. When you go into a broker, he should ask a number of questions as to what you are looking for, what are your personal circumstances. I mean, as a broker, we have policies that run from 300,000 baht per year, sum insured, to 97 million baht, sum insured, which is quite high. I mean, my own personal feeling about Thailand is that for 5 million baht, they can probably resurrect you. So why do you need more? You need more because medical inflation, I am told, is going up by 8% a year. So that means when I reach 120, I'm going to have to look at my insurance again. Some insurances have a lifetime limit. So if you spend your 300,000 baht on your heart attack, you're not covered for your cancer, you're not covered for this, that or the other. Others have a limit per disability, per lifetime. So maybe it's 300,000 baht per disability per lifetime. So if you have a heart attack and it's 299,000 baht, you've got 1,000 baht for the rest of your life. Others are 300 or 500 or 5 million baht per disability per year. That means that every year when you renew, all your limits are totally reinstated. This is obviously far better, because you don't want to go through the rest of your life saying, shit, I can't have another heart attack, otherwise I'm in deep stuck. Okay, so a good broker will go through all the alternatives. He'll find out whether or not you require, or feel you may require, organ transplant, because some companies provide it, some don't. Others provide maternity care. This excludes all your men, by the way. Some cover permanent implant devices, others don't. That hip replacement, knee replacement, pacemaker, whatever. But others don't do it. You have to decide what your particular concerns are. There's lots of other things. Do you want inpatient? Inpatient with outpatient? Inpatient without outpatient but with a deductible? All these things a decent broker will go through, but not all these things will be provided by one company. You're going to have to choose your company. Do I want to pay monthly, or half yearly, or annually, or never? Forget the insurance, okay. Are we guaranteed for life, or only up to age 60, or only up to age 65? Depends which company you go to. Speak to your broker. Do I get a no claim bonus? Only if you don't claim. Right. If you go to an insurance office, you'll be shown one product only. If you go to a broker, you should be given, after the broker's listened to what you've got to say, you should be shown 3 or 4 different options within the price parameters, the premium parameters that you yourself set. There's lots of other sub-limits or limits, but we don't have time to go through them just now. Claims. Most claims will be settled direct to the hospital, but occasionally you get one that's declined for a reason which the insurance company is good. I want to go through one case very quickly, which I am particularly proud of. It's a case where an insurance company tried to pull the wool over one of my client's eyes. And it's only because he came to see me that we got the claim paid. His wife was in hospital having had a stroke and quite seriously ill. The insurance company quite correctly asked for her hospital records, and on it there was various records where she had high blood pressure, hypertension. They said, you never declared the hypertension, so therefore we're denying the claim, which was millions of baht at the time. He came to me and said, what can I do? I said, well, she's obviously been in hospital. It says, on this date she had this blood pressure, this date she had this blood pressure, this date she had this blood pressure. He said, I don't understand it, she's never had it. I went to the hospital where I'm fairly well known, and I got hold of the hospital records with his signature. And all of those corresponded with times that she was in for cancer surgery. The insurance company was aware of it, but they only put down that she had hypertension on these dates. They never mentioned that she was in for cancer surgery at the time. What I said to the insurance company was that if she's in for cancer surgery, this would be normal. This isn't hypertension, this is just a natural reaction. The insurance company caved in, realised the game was up and paid. Insurance companies, if they can, they will find a way not to pay. And the job of a broker is to find a way for them to pay. It is you that pay my bills, not the insurance company. I'm going to be told to wrap up in a few minutes, so I'm going to have a quick word about BMI. Do we all know what BMI is? Apparently nobody knows. Body mass index. Body mass index means that you're overweight. Happy but overweight. The magic number is 32. Does everybody know how to work out their own body index? Body mass index? Okay, if you've got a pen and paper, and otherwise I'll give you this later, you get your height and you get your weight. You multiply your height in meters by 2. So if you're 175 centimeters tall, that's 1.75 times 2, which equals 3.5. If you're then 80 kilos, like me, what you do is divide your weight by 3.5, 80 by 3.5, and you come out with 22.85. Well, my calculators lied to me. Anyway, 22.85 is fine. When you reach 32, insurance companies tend to get a bit worried because they say your heart muscle is working too hard. Now, when you're over 32, we have various options. There's companies that will say, we will accept you, but we're going to exclude everything to do with your heart and everything to do with strokes. There's other companies that say, we will accept you and we will pay for the consequences of a high BMI, but you're going to have to pay more. Actually, 15% more if you're a little bit high, which most people are, rising up to a massive 75% more if you're up to 42. If you're over 42, we can't insure you. But we have a lot of latitude in there, because if you have a high BMI, the chances of you having a heart attack or stroke are increased. Not only that, you increase the chances of your knees giving way, of your hip giving way. So try not to get a high BMI like me. Right. I think I'm being warned that I'm approaching my 40 minutes. So I'm going to finish off a lot early, because I've not even touched on house insurance yet, on the OIC. I assume we all know who the OIC is. The OIC is the Office of the Insurance Commission. It's our regulatory body. We can't go against them. They check everything we do. They are our ombudsman, and they are your court of appeal if you don't agree with what an insurance company has decided. Every baht that you give in premium to a broker who's affiliated to the OIC, and if you're not affiliated to them, you can't be a broker anyway, or an agent. You have to be with them, or you're not legal. Every single baht they can come and follow. They can come in, say, I want to see the history of that premium from when you sold the policy to when it was sent off to the insurance company, from when you sent it. And if it's not right, we can be fined 20,000 baht per time. There are no longer cowboys operating under the OIC. It can't be done. They come, they don't give you any warning. It's like a tsunami coming. They just pile into your office. It's hell for a day, but you get away with it. Everything is regulated. We've had to put 2 million baht into a bank account as guarantee that we can't touch, but we do get 1% interest. So we're quite lucky in that respect. Being highly regulated is meant to protect the likes of our customers. There are cowboys that come in, they're not regulated, they undersell, they charge less money, and they're likely to disappear with your premium. If it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. That's a very true adage, especially when you're talking about your money and insurance premiums. I hope you've enjoyed listening to me as much as I've enjoyed talking to you. I'm going to love you and leave you.
You can carry on if you like.
It's telling me I can carry on. So can I talk a little bit about house insurance?
Yes.
Just a little bit, nothing too much. I just need to find the right page. Okay, house insurance. When you're insuring a house, and this, I mean, I don't know why I'm saying this even, you need to come up with a sum insured. You don't insure the house for what you paid for it because you paid for the land. The land won't burn. When they ask you to come up with a sum insured, they expect a reasonable guesstimate. They normally allow for a 20% tolerance. So if you buy a house, for example, for 10 million baht fully furnished, depending on where you are, it may be worthwhile insuring it for about 7.5 because there's the land, maybe a bit of old furniture, whatever. So you insure it for 7.5 million. That's tolerable. Price-wise, for an all-risk policy, rule of thumb, you're looking at 2,000 baht per million sum insured for the standard issue all risks. There are extras that you can add on, but obviously that's an extra cost. So a house that you're buying for, let's say, 5 million baht, the general price would fall somewhere between 9,000 and 11,000, depending on the company, how many stories it is, what's the land like, whether you want flood damage, whether you want water damage, electrical injury, whatever. But 2,000 baht per million is relatively standard for all the insurance companies. For all the insurance companies, because fire insurance, the premium is largely regulated by the government. Not all of it, just part of it. So the insurance companies can only charge so much. It's the extras, the add-ons, the burglaries that cost so much. If you're unlucky enough to be burgled, there's only 2 types of burglaries that count. There's gang robbery and there's burglary. Gang robbery is when someone knocks on your door, you open it up, and someone shoves a shotgun into your face. Let them in. Let them take what they like. Help them if you want to. Get them out of your house. As long as it says on the police report that they had a shotgun, a knife, they threaten you physically, that is gang robbery. The other one is when they actually break into your house. There's a sign of physical damage to your house. No sign of physical damage, there is no claim. It could be a broken window, it could be where they've used a screwdriver to jemmy something open. They could have come through the roof, no problem. But do not try to do it yourself to cover up your sin of leaving a window open, because you will be found out. Ultimately, insurance companies are not stupid. Insurance companies are there to make money, not necessarily off you, but off, in general, off everybody. That's burglary. Flood damage. It's something that's a topic recently that's come up. We used to do a company that did flood damage, We used to insure a lot of clients with them because we'd never really heard of a flood unless you lived on Soy Down or Soy Bogow. They just didn't occur very much. Then we got the floods of 2011. And we found out that this flood damage only covered up to a maximum of 100,000 baht. So you have to be very aware of how much damage you've got for each individual occurrence, whether it's flood damage, whether it's being hit by lightning, power surge. They all have little sublimits on it, and the sublimits will vary from company to company, and they will vary for your requirements from house to house. So this is why you need a broker to go through what's available and what's not available and all these things. Condos. Your juristic person should insure your condo, so you only need to insure your own contents, your own improvements, and most importantly, for liability. We know what liability is. It's when a pipe bursts and the water goes down to your neighbour below, he ain't going to be happy. Liability is the most thing that we have on condos. The most claims that we have on condos is for liability insurance. Generally, they're very safe. There's no burglaries or hardly any burglaries. We've only had one big fire recently. So that's very cheap. Most condos are studios or one bedroom, even 2 bedrooms you can get away with insuring for $500,000 baht of contents. And the cost for that is less than 3,000 baht a year for everything. It's not a great deal, it's less than a night out for most of you, and it will give you peace of mind. Okay, let's talk about McAllen office. Our office is easy to find, but what you will see is if you walk in, you will find 8 girls, 7 really good looking girls it so happens. They speak mainly very, very good English. A few of them have been with me for many years. They're very helpful and they're there more than I'm there because I'm out doing things like this or seeing people or making sure claims are being settled or visiting folk in hospital. So I've got a group of girls in there who are very friendly. They'll make you a cup of tea or coffee and they can ask the same questions that I'm going to ask you and probably give you the same answers that I would give you if you asked me the questions. So while I'm happy to speak to each and every one of you at any time in my office, those of you who know my office will attest to the fact that the girls in there are very knowledgeable, very helpful, and we will do our best not to let you down. If you have a claim, we won't do what other people have been reputed to do and say, go and deal with the insurance company yourself. We will help you with it. We'll help you from beginning to end, from A to B. We will, if you have a legitimate claim there, we will make sure you get paid. If I may finish on a very sad story. I was the first insurance man, full-time expat in Pattaya. As such, I probably had, when this occurred, I probably had more expat clients than anybody else. There was a young boy on a motorbike going up Second Road when it was two-way. I don't know how many of you remember that. At about 1 in the morning. He was involved in an accident and he lost his leg. His body went one way, his leg went the other way. I got a phone call about 1:30 from the hospital concerned, whose name I won't mention, and they said, Jack, we've got a guy in here, we think he may be one of your customers, but we don't know, can you come out and see if it's an emergency? So I clambered into my little Daihatsu mirror, and I went to the hospital, and I looked at him. This was at a time when A, I had a good memory, and B, I had a lot less customers than I have now. Now, 3,500, whatever. And I said, I'm sorry, I do not insure this guy. They put him back into a taxi to transfer him to Banglamung because they weren't sure if this guy could pay, and he died. I had to say I didn't know him, because if I said I did know him and they spent millions, or hundreds of thousands at the time, saving his life, and then it transpired he didn't have insurance, not only this hospital, but every hospital which currently trusts me, and if I say operate it's okay, they will do so, that they would not trust me in the future. What happened with this guy is that he was a visitor, a wealthy visitor who worked in the oil fields in the early 90s. Whoever had put him into the taxi to take him to hospital, I assume took his wallet. The guy died, but I maintain the trust, and still do have the trust, of every hospital around here. Not every broker can say that. And if I say this man is insured and the insurance company will pay when they get round to it, they will go ahead. That's something that I'm very proud of, even though I'm not proud of the fact that the man died. I'm very proud of the trust that hospitals and insurance companies have in the ethics of me and my company. As I say, I'll be pleased to see any one of you, anytime. And my brochures are over there, my phone number's over there, and map of how to get to my office over there. I wish you all the best with your insurance, all the best with your lives, and thank you very much for listening to me.
Please stand back. If you do so kind in case there's any questions from the floor.
I think I've covered absolutely everything.
Please raise your hand. And one at a time.
Yes. I have one specific question. Is a knock per knock, and what are the benefits of that type system? Do you know?
The benefits of knock for knock is that you can both drive away and both get the car insured by your own insurer. It's quicker.
You take care of yourself and the other guy takes care of himself. Is that true?
Your insurance company takes care of you and the other insurance company takes care of the other person.
Yeah, good.
It's quick and it's easy, but it's not often used.
Right here.
Hey Jack.
Hello?
Go for a full vision, I can't see that. Hold it up like this here, can you hear me okay now? Okay, Jack, you're my guy, you're my broker. You never give me your phone number. I want to call you at 2 o'clock or something and
There's a reason he doesn't give it to you.
What can I do? I gotta say, I've been insured with you for a long time. I have motorbikes, I have cars, everything. But got into an accident on Soy 17 a couple years ago, and a lady pulled in front of me, and I T-boned her in my motorbike, and I swear your insurance guy was there in 10 minutes. I said, "Were you following me?" I'm not joking. It's like, and he took care of everything for me. I just stood there, and it was the police come and all that stuff, but he helped me 100%. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you very much. But that's how it should be. That's how it should be for everybody here. And that's how we at McCallum try to make it.
Thank you for your information. My name is Uli. My question is, you spoke about many insurances, but what I miss, I don't know the name in English, but when my person makes a wrong mistake to another person, throw down his mobile phone or his smartphone, and it is damaged, I have to pay to him. And I can make an insurance for that we say in Germany, Haftpflichtversicherung. I don't know the English word, but you don't talk any word about that, or I misunderstood. Thank you.
Can you clarify? Were you saying that somebody damaged your computer, or you damaged somebody else's?
I make a mistake to some other people, and I have to pay for this mistake.
What you want is liability insurance, as long as
No, not liability rates. I thought it's, oh, sorry.
it's liability.
Quick question, you mentioned that we should keep the motorcycle policies with us. Is it sufficient to keep a paper copy in the motorcycle and the appropriate phone numbers, or is it advisable to carry the actual policy?
If you don't have an accident, keep the copy. If you do have an accident, and that's why you need it, the person who comes out to tend you will ask to see the original document.
Jack, talking about home and contents insurance, I've obviously got it for my condo because I own it, but it got me thinking that do landlords have landlord protection here in Thailand? Because if the renter has a problem, they usually try and get the money off the renter, and if the renter doesn't think, well, it's not my furniture, why should I bother? But they might have personal things. What would you advise a renter in a condo or house to get home contents insurance, or check if the landlord has home contents?
Even if the landlord has home contents insurance, it would not cover the renter's insurance, because you cannot insure something that does not belong to you. So you should advise the renter to take out his own policy, and while I mentioned the figure, I think, of 500,000 bahts, it's possible to get it for a lot less, which would cost maybe 1,000 or 1,200 baht a year, because liability itself will have its own cost and will be within the policy.
Jack, I don't know if you might be able to tell me what happened, but recently I had was a bankrupt at a hospital, and I have health insurance, which is from the U.S. It does cover me here, and they will direct bill my insurance. But the company that handles overseas for my insurance company is AXA USA. Okay, they apparently do something through AXA here, because my question deals with when I had an inpatient, I had them direct bill it. Then later I was doing some outpatient, and now they have on my records AXA. So when I prepared the bill, they prepared it for the insurance company. And when I went up to pay, and I get all my prescriptions and everything, so I went up to pay, the lady said, for my insurance, and presented me the bill, it was 80,000 baht. And I said, well, do you want to pay that? I said, well, I can pay the claim, or she said, let me call your insurance. Then she came back up, and since I'd already said I could pay the claim, she said, insurance company said for you to make the claim and present me the bill for 40,000 baht. Said we have a contract. That's all what she said. I don't know what the deal was. So I don't know, apparently they got something there where they really bill the insurance companies, and if had some kind of deal, if they could get me to pay, then the price went down considerably.
I know that if somebody is paying direct to the hospital, as opposed to an insurance company paying for the same, that the individual is charged less, that the insurance company is being charged. This is one of the reasons why premiums is going up. Regarding your individual case, I'm not aware of that insurance company that you're talking about, so I don't wish to comment on it. But one thing that I omitted, and I'm so happy you reminded me, is that we are not all charged the same when we go to insurance. You have to be aware that if you pay yourself, you are charged less than an insurance. Even if you have a policy, you can always give the bill to the insurance later if you so desire. But Thais, and probably quite rightly because they live here and were born here, Thais are charged less than we are. I'm sure that you've come across this before. Then Europeans are charged less than Japanese, who are charged less than Americans. There's separate charges within it. Hospitals will deny this, by the way. Hi, hospitals. Hospitals will deny it, but we know that if an American goes in because an American, and he shows an American insurance company, they know that they can charge what the hell they like because it's still going to be a lot less than what they pay in America. It's just the way it is. Just an aside.
Any more questions?
I used to work in private hospitals in England, and many insurance companies, including AXA, would have an agreement, and the agreement to pay the bill with the hospital differed from one insurance company to another. And I worked in the billing department, and we knew that sometimes the insurance company would charge more than the individual. Each insurance company, AXA could be at one price, Bupa could be another price, and so on and so forth. And it was up to the negotiator from the hospital as to what price they could get for each individual operation, appliance, etc., as to what was paid. So that's why you never know. And we used to have to advise patients that if they had insurance, claim from the insurance company, through the insurance company. Don't pay the bill yourself if there is an agreement with the hospital. And your insurance company will know before you go in whether there is an agreement. And I think it works the same worldwide. I can't see it being any different.
It's no different here.
Yeah, exactly.
What we depend on is the hospital actually advising the insurance company that the patient is there. This doesn't always happen. Usually happens, but not in every case. The insurance companies, whatever insurance company, they have agreements with the hospital as to what can and can't be charged and the parameters for each individual operation, procedure, pregnancy, whatever. It's already been discussed, agreed. These are the parameters. A lot of insurance companies now put down normal and customary charges acceptable. And in my years here, there's never been a problem with that. It's already agreed. Okay? They'll pay it.
I just want to thank you publicly, Jack, for your very generous charitable contributions to take care. You've been very generous over all the years. You're a real gentleman. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Please thank Jack. And please thank Jack for his, as was just mentioned, your valuable time on a Sunday. I know Sundays are very precious, especially with the family. Thank you again for taking the time to come to our club. And we have a little, we have a certificate of appreciation for you. As I say, the title of your talk, I think, was done by Ren, Insurance for Idiots. And we probably are idiots where insurance comes involved, and we need your advice. So if you'd like to just come here and we'll...
I'll go the long way, or you can go.
No, I'll come up here.
I have no peripheral vision, but I have no depth perception.
Oh. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jack.